Next, let's talk about stop motion animation. This again can be a ton of fun and honestly one of the greatest things you can do with your kids on a rainy day afternoon. If you've got Legos or any little characters that you can move around and pose, you can make them move in a movie. It's so cool. All right, let me show you how to do this on a really, really simple level. Let's go back into the control mode by again tapping on that icon with the number 10 on it, and I'll switch it from time-lapse shot to stop motion animation. I can choose to add the pictures to a group. So if I've already started an animation and I want to add more photos to it, I can click that and it'll let me select another previously existing group. Or in this case, I'll leave it off and go to the next option, which is auto shooting. Now, odds are you're going to want to leave auto shooting off. When it's off, that means that you simply push the button whenever you walk the camera to take a picture. But if you know that there's a fixed interval that you're going to shoot between, or let's say that you're far away from the camera, you don't want to have to go running back and forth to the camera, you can give yourself a set amount of time up to just 60 seconds, so 1 minute in between shots, giving you a minute to repose, reposition the subject. Again, odds are you're going to want to do it manually. So that's how we'll set it up today. Let's go ahead and set auto shooting to off and press the shutter button halfway to go back to the scene. I'm going to point the camera at a different scene that I've got set up here. I have this little Lego guy, and we're going to animate him across the scene. Now, one of the really cool things about this is that you can actually see the frames that you previously shot overlaid using something called onion skinning, and this is turned on automatically when you're in the animation mode. Now, before I start shooting, I do want to make another change. You may have noticed that the previous movie that I created was shot in the 4:3 aspect ratio, which is what our still photos are shot at, but not generally what we shoot movies at. So I want to change the still aspect ratio to 16:9 to more match a cinema movie type experience, and then we'll shoot the animation that way. So I'll go into my quick menu, and across the top here, I'll navigate to where it says 4:3 large, and I'm going to scroll through to 16:9. Now, 16:9 large is bigger than Ultra HD. That's bigger than 4K. I want to output a 4K movie, and I don't really have any need for any bigger files. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 16:9 medium, which is going to give me a aspect ratio that is cinematic, 16:9, and the size that matches Ultra HD or 4K. I'll go ahead and choose that. And before I exit out of here, there's one more thing you might want to change. The camera is currently set to shoot JPEG only, which is perfectly fine for this type of work. However, if you wanted to have complete and total control over your movie and get the absolute utmost quality out of it, instead of shooting JPEG internally and then building the movie file internally, you could shoot RAW, bring those into a photo editor, and do other work, color enhancement, retouching, or anything else you might want to do, and then use software on your computer to build the animation. Lots of different ways you can do this, but I'm going to go ahead and just shoot JPEG internally and let the camera build the animation for me. All right, so I'm all set and ready to go. I will position my car where I want him to start, so put him right about there. I'll position the focus point right on our character's face, and I'm going to push the button to shoot the picture. Ooh, but one more thing I might want to change. I'm currently in aperture priority mode, which in this environment is totally controlled. The light's not going to change. That's fine. But if your lighting might change just a little bit, what you may want to do is set your camera into manual exposure mode. That will ensure that you have a consistent exposure over time and it's not changing exposure as your sequence proceeds or progresses. If you get that change in exposure, it'll show up as kind of a flicker in the movie. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this into manual exposure mode. And it looks like my exposure is pretty well set right there. So let's go ahead and set the focus point on our character and shoot the first picture. Now, notice on the right that the icon has gone from 1 to 2, so we're now counting up. And as I move my character forward, we see that onion skinning effect showing me the previous shot. I can reposition my focus point, take the picture, and move on. So I'm going to have my little character here very quickly just jet across the scene. Of course, if you put a little bit of distance between each frame, it's going to give the illusion that your character is moving a little bit faster. There's so many cool things you can do with stop motion animation. And again, this is one of those things that will make for a great rainy day activity to do with your kids at home. Let's get one more shot and we've got it. Okay, now that I'm done, you'll see that the icon on the top is up to 10, telling me that I've shot 10 frames. If I tap on that, it asks me, do I want to end the stop motion shooting? I'll say yes. I'll say yes to creating the video now. And just like before, I can choose my frame rate and size of the movie. We'll leave it where it is, click yes, and here's our movie. And that's all there is to it. It is so much fun, so cool to work this way. It's just an absolute blast. So whether you're taking a long stretch of time and compressing it into a much shorter period of time to watch the movie, or you're taking something that simply takes time to create, like the stop motion, building one frame at a time, the stop motion / time lapse function of your GH5 is a lot of fun. It can give you some incredible results.